Hey YouTube, Joseph Balmer here, and today I'm going to take you through changing a serpentine belt. And the vehicle that I'm using is my wife's 2006 Jeep Wrangler. This has the 4-liter inline 6 in it. Most engines are going to be similar. Front-wheel drive cars are going to be a little more difficult to get to because you generally are going to have to access them through the passenger side, which would be the right front fender well. You'll have to jack them up sometimes to actually get the tensioner off. They're a little more difficult, but any standard mounted engine in a truck or a Jeep or anything like that, where the pulleys are in front by the radiator, they're fairly simple. Sometimes you may have to remove an air intake or part of the fan shroud, and that'll be specific to each vehicle, but I'm going to run you through this one and show you the basics and some things to look for while you have the belt off, while you're replacing it, and we'll go from there. So I hope this helps you out. Do me a favor while you're here, please click the subscribe button. Don't forget to rate the video, and here we go. Okay guys, so the first thing you're going to need to do is locate the tensioner. This is the tensioner on this Jeep. The easiest way to tell, you can hopefully see the arm down here. Okay, the arm, and then the pulley is out on the end of the arm. Now, the reason we're changing this belt, and hopefully you can see this, right down here on the water pump pulley, hopefully you can see all the cracks in the back side of this belt. This belt has, it's getting to the end of its life expectancy, so this Jeep, her Jeep has about 174,000 on it now. I don't think this is the original belt, but it is very possible. We bought the Jeep with a little over 100 on it. So we're going to go ahead and change that out and get rid of that, because I don't want her breaking down on the side of the road. That's not a phone call I particularly want to get. Now, to release the tension, I have two different tools here, and what you need to do to determine what you need, first thing you'll have to do is locate the hole in the tensioner. Locate the hole in the tensioner, which is right there, and this one happens to be a 1/2-inch square hole. Some of them are half, some of them are 3/8. Some of them, there will be a bolt here, out here on this end, that you'll have to get a hold of. They could be 13, 15 millimeter. There's several different sizes. But you need to locate the release point. Now, I have two different tools here. One of them is part of a serpentine belt toolkit from Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh Tools. This works fairly well. It's not my favorite thing to use, but if you need to, it is adjustable for angle. This is a 3/8 square, that's a 1/2 square, and it came with some other sockets that can go on either one of these. But as you can see, you get too much tension on it and you can roll it over. It's not the best made tool, but it does work and it's inexpensive. So if you need something like that, and then what you would do, which this is part of the reason I don't particularly like this one, I can't get the proper angle on it here, so I'm going to try and use my 1/2-inch breaker bar. It's got a little bit different angle on the head. Should allow me, hopefully, well, and again, maybe not. Looks like, and I could do this with a 1/2-inch ratchet, but I'll go ahead and get it set up for this tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to change our angle up a little bit. That way we can get that in there. I'm actually going to go over the heater hose there. Now, you just push. This one, you can see the belt wraps over the top of the tensioner, which means I have to push it down like that to release tension. Now, before you go and take the belt completely off, and I just slid it over this idler pulley, check the back of your belt. If you check the back of your belt, and you can see it's got different belt diagrams, and the one, let's see if it's got the one for this Jeep on there. Chrysler 4-liter. There's two different ones, and this one has the crank pulley, tensioner pulley, alternator, an idler, power steering pump, down to the AC compressor, and back up to the water pump. So this is the diagram we're going to be using. If you don't have a diagram like this, you can, before you take the belt off, just simply draw one on a piece of paper so you know the belt routing, because if you slide it off and you forget which way it went, it can it can be not the most fun to get back on. So now, hopefully you guys can see this. I've got it off of this tensioner, so we're going to move the fan out of our way, and I'm going to slide that the rest of the way off. We're going to get that out of our way for the moment, and then we're going to simply remove our belt, just working it off the upper pulleys. And then once you get down to the crank, hopefully you guys can see this, you work it out around the end of the crankshaft, and there we go. Pull the end from the AC compressor up and bring it over, and then we should be able to get the rest of it off of the crank pulley. Just a little wiggling, and you have to stick your finger down in here and you can pull it out. So, and you can see how cracked up that belt is. It's cracked almost all the way down to the backing, and it's done. It shouldn't do that. Now, some of the older, the newer belts rather, you won't see them crack like this. What'll happen is these ribs will start getting deep, and if you ask your auto parts store, they have some cheap little gauge tools that they'll give you to be able to tell when a belt's getting bad. Now, once you get it off, you always want to check your idler pulleys. Give them a spin, and you can see this one's in really good shape, but you see it just spins for a second and stops because there's still grease on the bearings. If the bearings get dry, it'll spin a lot faster, a lot longer. Check your tensioner pulley. Now see how long that, I don't know if you can see how long that one spins. See that? This one I need to replace, and it's starting to get a little bit of play in it. So I will bring you another video replacing that one later. I'm going to get her belt on it so it's drivable today, and then I will get a tensioner pulley for it and get that put on here, and I will show you a video when I do that. Now, putting it back on, we'll start down at the crank, and I'm just going to slide, that one side over here. We're going to slide that side down to the crank. Once we get it down there, I'm going to reach through here, and hopefully you guys can see this, and I'm going to fish the belt. Get the fan out of my way so I can see what I'm doing here. Hopefully. I'm going to actually use the fan. Well, I was trying to pull the belt across, but it's not cooperating. So now I got a fan blade in my way. I got to get the fan blades up out of my way. And actually, the easiest way to do this, give me just a second, and we're going to slide underneath. Easiest way to get it on the crank pulley, just slide underneath. Get it up around the pulley. Make sure you're sitting down in the ribs well. I'm going to go up there and pull my slack back. Hopefully you guys can see all that. But we're down around the pulley. I'm going to pull the slack back, and then I will double check everything. Okay, so we're going to come back up here. We're going to fish as much of the slack as we can back up through, hopefully without knocking the belt off the pulley, which I think I just did. We got to go around the water pump. Okay, across, there's our alternator. I'm just going to go underneath that water neck now, around the power steering pump. Hopefully you guys can see all this. This is going to go around the water pump. Whew, that's a little warm yet. And down. Okay. Let me get back underneath it here. Okay, so get you guys on the ground here looking up, so maybe you have a little bit better view, hopefully. I don't know where a good view is down here. My hat may be the best, but we're going to go get it around the crankshaft, just like that. And then I'm going to try and push the excess up and around as best I can here. And that way, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but over here, I'll reach my arm up through, grab the other side of the belt that needs to come down from the water pump around the AC compressor. So when you get done, on the bottom side, it should look something like that from down here. Hopefully you guys can see that alright. That's all wrapped in. Alright. I'll go back up top. And up here, you can see we're around the tensioner, around the alternator. We're not around that one yet. But to get around the idler, I'll take my serpentine belt tool. I'm going to get the fan out of my way. We'll stick that end in the tensioner arm. And see, with this one, I can actually move this tensioner without even using the extension. That spring is probably getting a little weaker than it should. And I'm just going to hold it out of the way. I'm going to get that down under that idler. Just like that. Ooh, gosh, that's hot. I hit that water neck. And then we're going to release tension. We're going to check, make sure that we're evenly on all the pulleys still, that it didn't move when I was messing with the belt. We'll go back down underneath and check the same thing, and you can see, hopefully you can see this, it's still centered up, it's in the proper grooves. You don't want to get it out of the grooves, because if you get it out of the grooves, it will actually cut straight through the belt if you end up on one of the edges of the pulley. Okay. Now that we've got all that where it needs to be, we're going to go ahead and start it and make sure that it runs properly, doesn't come off. Give me a second here. Set our emergency brake, put it in neutral. You can see the alternator's charging. Okay. Double check everything looks good, it's running properly, so we can shut it off. There we go. So guys, that's all there is to it. Changing a serpentine belt on one of these Jeeps is actually fairly easy. Just a couple simple tools. You can actually, if you could fit it in there, most of your belts, you can actually change with a ratchet. You don't need a serpentine belt tool. For some of them, you will need a tool, just because of the location of the tensioner. You don't have enough room to get the head of a ratchet in. But like I said, if you're just doing it yourself in your driveway, you can pick up a serpentine belt tool from your local auto parts store, just a basic one like the one I showed you. Cheap, or Harbor Freight, you can pick them up really cheap. And it's something, if you're just going to use it a couple times on your own vehicles, it's handy to have around, and you probably won't wear them out. Most of the time, if you do, you can take them back and warranty them. So anyway guys, you've seen that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you. Don't be afraid to get out there and get your hands dirty. You might have a little fun doing it. And do me a favor, like I said, please click the subscribe button, please rate the video, and we will see you on the next one. Have a nice day.